Hi guys, welcome back. In today's episode, we're actually going to talk about something a little bit spicy. We're going to talk about sex and libido and just how important this is to our lives and to our relationships and with our health. And when we think about sex, we're also talking about the passion and the vitality that gets added into your life and just the benefits all around when it comes to exploring that and having a healthy and functioning libido and willingness and yeah, just the willingness to engage in something so intimate with the person that you love, or just even connecting with yourself on just a deeper level.
Everything matters, and as we talked before, that sex libido goes together with our vitality and creativity. So if you are creative in general, if you find that creative energy kind of flows to you, if you want to start this project or that, or you want to create arts, you want to paint, you want to sing, like creativity in general, if you burn with that, usually sexuality is not a problem for you. And always sex libido goes together with vitality. You can see people who go and they kind of leave that sleep, that okay, this person has a lot of energy. You see that. So usually sexuality, sexual energy goes together with vitality. From the physical parts, that's related with our kidney energy too. Same as anxiety. But kidney energy for vitality, for libido is a little bit different. So again, we have to have healthy organ to feel that. What can affect the organ? Again, that can be physical reasons, the exposure to viruses, bacteria. That can be mental reasons, or that can be emotional reasons. So I'm sure that you're gonna dive a little bit more about emotional and mental reasons why we feel decreased libido. But from my side, what I want to start it with, that we have to make sure that there is no physical reasons, why we don't have libido, why we don't feel that sexual energy in our body. And, different philosophies has different meaning about sexuality, different ways how you can heal that, different ways how you can increase your sexuality and creativity. But I think everything in life, everything in our bodies, in our beings in general, has vice versa cycle. If you are creative, you might feel a lot of sexual energy. If you don't have sexual energy, your creativity might be low. Everything is kind of vice versa all the time. There's a cycle.
But that's the signal.
Yeah, that's a signal for sure.
Yeah, because I think when I think of like, I'm even thinking about like the menstrual cycle, and when that's not in line with the natural process, it really is a signal that something isn't working, whether it be physically or whether it be emotionally, right? Maybe there's a lot of stress going on in your life that is creating now tension in the body, making it hard for your body to like deposit waste and actually go through the cycle of cleansing and rejuvenating. And so I say that to say that sexuality is kind of the same thing. When you're not having this ebb and flow of moisture and serum and like lubricant within your like organs, that is a sign that's there's something that's going on. And I'm going to touch on more of the emotional stuff while you kind of touch on the physical part of it. And one of the biggest things that I have noticed is stress really impacts our ability to connect not only with our partners intimately, but sexually. And when I mean stress, this can be stress from the day-to-day life, but it can also be stress from your trauma. Meaning that if you haven't healed any of that anger or resentment or stored up distress, then it is going to impact how your body responds in intimate relationships. And what this looks like, let's say that you haven't dealt with any of the stress in the body and it's still responding. The minute that you go to try to be vulnerable with your partner, your body's going to tense up because it's uncomfortable. And that's going to lead to a lack of, for better word, like libido.
Yeah.
It's going to lead to a lack of libido because your body doesn't feel safe. And so through the lens of like psychology and sociology, if you're not experiencing libido, that could mean that your body doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel there's not enough regulation to engage in
Mhm.
such an intimate process, right?
I just want to add a little bit about that stress. How is that affecting? The thing is, we know that stress response is the state where the nervous system is not able to heal, the nervous system is not able to give you a signal that you are safe. Stress response is absolutely, yeah, it's crucial for the body. Sometimes it can be very, very beneficial. But if we are on that constant stress response in the body, which can be created with our job environment, with our relationships, it doesn't matter. Stress response is bigger trigger than physical issues. And what I'm saying, a lot of people tell that, oh, try this diet, go exercise, But if that creates stress response for you to weight your food, to count the calories and everything, you might not feel any benefits because that response in the nervous system goes first. This is more valuable for the body to be in the relaxed mode than the food that you eat, than the exercise that you do. So if that diet, if that exercising creates so much stress for you, that might not beneficial at all.
Yes.
So the way how we can deal with stress, if we notice that our libido, if we're lacking the libido because of the stress in our work environment, how are we gonna approach it? How are we gonna work on that? Because there is no such, I mean, you can find the ways how to heal libido. You can find energy healer. You can, of course, check your physical body first, just to make sure that there is no organic reasons for that. You can do talk therapy. You can do non-traditional approaches that we talked in the previous episode. But the thing is, if you find that you are your nervous system is in the constant stress, this is what is kind of foundation. And then everyone has a question. So how to deal with that? I cannot quit my job. I cannot leave my partner. I still have to pay bills. I still have to go to work. I still have to study and stuff, So it's not surprising that there's no libido. You cannot create anything from this point of being.
Yeah. And another reason that your libido might be really low is because you've developed a sense of fear around having sex.
Absolutely.
Or asking for sex and initiating it. Because if you, let's say you've had like past experiences where your partner hasn't wanted to have sex, maybe you were in a relationship where sex was forced on you when you didn't want to, and so it takes your choice away. And so anytime that you've had a sexual experience where you didn't have a choice, this will create trauma, and it creates a lot of fear around now initiating it, which will then suppress your libido.
Yeah. And also, of course, fear is probably the emotion that plays a lot of value in this case in libido and sexuality. Also, again, fear is related with the same organ system, kidney, where our vitality and sexuality is. This emotion affects this part of the body. And then it's so hard for the body to keep up with that libido or vitality. It has to drop to be able to have homeostasis, And also, when I want to mention that not only fear can have this effect on libido, but any kind of repressed emotion, which is very common in guys, they thought when they were a kid that, oh, boys should not show the emotions. Don't cry, don't be mad, you're a man, that approach make you repress everything that you feel. And if you have so many repressions in your body, it's so hard for you to be vulnerable. You don't know what's inside. And sexuality, it requires vulnerability.
Yeah. And I know we're talking about like the decrease of libido, but I also want to talk about the like overpowering
Absolutely.
sense of libido, because both of these states are extreme, like not having any libido and like feeling like you have too much, or feeling like not too much, but feeling like it's out of your control,
Yeah.
where you're now engaging in really addictive behaviors. This can be porn. This can be having a lot of sexual partners. This can be like putting a lot on your partner of like, I need to have this or I can't function, right? Like it's really a form of dysregulation. And I have had clients where their partner might not be wanting to have sex as much as they do. And I know it's very common for men, or at least that's what our society kind of paints the picture as it's more common that men initiate sex and want to have more sex. But I've had a lot of clients where it's actually them that end up asking their partner for sex, or really want to have it in the relationship. And when there's a misbalance of meeting your sexual needs, this is where this need gets hyper like sensitive, and it then becomes really hard to regulate, and you feel really lost without that.
Absolutely. And I think that we also have to kind of talk a little bit about we talked about what can be the reason for decreased libido, but what can be the reason for increased libido. And the thing is, if you don't have the ways how to let your emotions go, if you don't have the ways how to relax your body, you can go to that mode where you feel like, okay, I feel that my libido is out of control.
Yeah.
Because your body needs to kind of press the reset button.
Yeah.
Right? Your physical body, vital body, mental body, because usually during the sex, all of these energies, they meet.
Yeah.
This is what actually orgasm is. So when we don't have the ways how to reset our body, then we might feel that, okay, there's an urge to have any kind of sexual activity.
Yeah.
So, and as you said, any extreme, it's a signal. It can be not a good way to show up with your partner, with yourself, if you have increased libido, because that's a signal that there's something going on.
Yeah.
And if we have some kind of let's say inflammations or any kind of fire in the body, that can show up as an increased libido.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that environmental factors definitely will impact like your sense of libido. But I also want to talk about social factors. And for in my experience, clients who have had childhood sexual abuse, or even young adult sexual abuse, they end up relying on sex as their only way of coping.
Absolutely.
Meaning it's the only way, because that's what they learned. It was a learned behavior that in order to express anger or sadness or to release the stress that I'm feeling, sex has been the only option that I've had. And so this is where you see a high increase of, this is the only way I'm going to regulate my emotions. This is the only way that I feel safe enough to
That's
do
my
so.
coping mechanism. And then especially as you said, I want to just talk a little bit about it a little bit more, because it's so important that this is exactly what we see. If a person has not only the sexual trauma, what I'm seeing in my practice, any kind of childhood trauma, that can be any kind of, let's say you lost loved one, you say you lost a family member, you got kicked out from home or something, any kind of hard, severe trauma, that can show up as an increased libido as your way for cope or self-validate. Because self-validation is usually go together with sexuality and libido.
Yeah, and also shame. Shame plays such a huge factor in whether or not you're able to express your sense of libido or sense of sexuality. Because if you were shamed for being too promiscuous or being too sexual, or even wanting to have sex, and if you grew up in a family where any type of sex was a sin, right? I always hear this for a lot of my clients. They struggle with being able to express their sexuality because of what they were taught growing up, and how that was actually a bad thing, and it should be only used for procreation. For when you're married. And yes, those are values that people have, and I think it's important to stand by your values and your beliefs.
But the
But if
thing
it's
is-
bringing shame, then this is something that we need to work through.
But the thing is, you have to stand for your values.
Yes.
That's the key component here, your values. If it's not the value for you, it would be so hard for you to keep it because
Yeah.
the society or family or someone told you, yeah, you might repress it, but then by the end of the day, you have some kind of difficulties with that in your relationships, in your health, in your vitality, in general. So it's very important to understand if it's my value or is the value that I kind of used to think that it's my value, you know? So
Mhm.
it's very, very important to understand where is it coming from and if it's actually mine.
And exploring that new identity and new belief system and really digging deep of like what is really important to me and moving forward, what do I really stand on? That is a form of sexuality.
Yes.
Because you're saying I'm important, I value my needs, and I'm choosing to like move forward in
And
that.
this is exactly why I brought up self-validation.
Yeah.
Because for some people, when they have the job that they don't like, they do something just to pay the bills, they don't have a deep spiritual connection, good relationships, even friendships, no one to open up with. Your only self-validation can be the sex.
Yeah.
And then we can have a lot of different partners, then we can have sex without feelings and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking about like, we're talking about sex, and I feel like it's being more normalized to have these conversations, like even with your friends and your partners. But there's still for a lot of people, the idea that to talk about sex is still very taboo, and it limits your ability to like really tap into that sense of sexuality and have conversations with your partner where you're really exploring what sexuality means for both of you, because I can have a whole image
Absolutely.
of what I think my sexual experience should be, while my partner might have a whole different thing. And if we don't communicate and get on the same page of that, there is going to be a huge sense of disconnection.
That's why communication is the key in
Yeah.
any kind of field. When you have to come up with different person, not yourself, any kind of friendships, relationships, referral partners, co-workers, everything. When you have two people interacting, you have to know how to communicate.
Yeah.
And this again is a dance, right? My way to communicate might not be accepted by you. And the ways that you communicate it might be like, oh hell no, for me. So it's a dance, as you said. But
Yeah.
getting back to that sexuality and libido, I think that I like that it's more and more on the norm range topic because it's important for the body. It's vital. We have this reproductive system. We have to use it.
Yeah.
So it's, of course, everyone can have different values on that. Religious values, family values, and the shame. Where does it come from? Look how a lot of people were raised.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame. Don't talk about that. Don't tell anyone. No, we're not talking about that in this home. So the way how we see, we have to deal, we have to work around it. This is what we're gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm also thinking about how important it is to start really reflecting on your libido and your sexuality if it's not something that is functioning in its normality. Because if you're someone like, I'm just thinking about me, right? I feel that I've done a lot of inner work, and not only emotionally but also physically, to where I'm starting to prepare my body for childbearing. Like, I do want to have children. That is a desire of mine. And these physical aspects of this process needs to be working functionally before I can have kids. So if you don't have libido and you want to be a mom, that is definitely something that's a barrier that's definitely going to get in the way of you achieving these things that you want for your future.
Absolutely, and especially fertility is a huge topic.
Huge topic.
Yeah, so I work with people with fertility issues too, because again, you have to prepare your body. You have to be in the state where your body's able to have a child. So which means your system has to work on the optimal level, especially what we're seeing with when women, I work more with women with fertility issues. When women come and see and tell me that, oh, there's like issue with fertility, definitely we're gonna check everything what's going on in the body. But usually what we see the kidney system involved. And this is vitality, this is libido. We have to provide on the quantum level, provide what that system needs to be able to work optimally. And it's such an achievement when people come to you with fertility issues, like, okay, let's put your body into the optimal way, and they got pregnant. That's an achievement. And I felt that. I had clients like this, and it's amazing.
No, it's something, you know, to really consider. I remember something a little bit more personal, but I remember when I was going through a period of just like there was a lot of stress in my life. I think I had just moved, I started a new job, I was trying to get my business up and running, and I had no libido. And I remember not only feeling really run down, disconnected, but also just like, what's the word?
You
Almost like
asking me what's the word?
I know. What is the word here? What is the scientific word that I'm looking for here? But my skin was just dry. It felt like I was missing color. It felt like I was, just pale skin, right? I starting to wrinkle, like and you know, once I went through that process, overcame it, I started to really dig deep of like, what does this mean, right? How do I overcome this? I'm so young, like I should not be dealing with this. I got a lot of information about libido and estrogen and how they all work together, and how that is literally the glowiness, and how you emphasize vitality, and like, yes, like you can see it on somebody's face.
You can cut it with a knife, you know? And
yes,
so vital. Like they walk by and you're like, somehow you just turn around and look, you know, like that person has a lot of energy. And that energy is usually sexual energy. And sexual energy is equal to creative energy, vitality. So, and for example, when I talked about the skin, our kidney system, our vitality, libido system, or the reproductive system takes energy from, gives energy for our liver. This is from the Houston diagram from Eastern medicine side. So we don't have to know science behind, but usually our kidney system gives energy for our liver. And the liver, if it doesn't have enough energy, because I don't have what to give to you, right? I'm lacking the energy. And then liver show up as a skin issues, as frustration all the time, that not being able to manage the stress. So, and everything is a cycle, everything is connected. Provide this and you're not going to have the skin anymore. So, and usually skin is the reflection of what's going on inside. To find someone with actual skin issue, it's so rare.
I don't recall the name of this woman, but she went on national TV and she did an interview. She's like a famous person. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, she did the interview and she was talking about how, you know, she wakes up in the morning and she does intermittent fasting, and she eats like bone broth, and she only eats like vegetables, and like just the limitations in her diet. And everybody came out. I mean, it's a little bit sad, but everyone came out on social media and they were just criticizing her because her hair was brittle. She was pale. Her eyes were droopy, right? Her lips were chapped. Like all of these different signs of like, you're talking about health, and yet your external appearance is not reflecting that.
Absolutely.
And so even though, you know, you're working out and you're doing intermittent fasting, you're eating only vegetables, but it doesn't reflect it and you don't see it, like that's a huge sign.
Again, we get back to the same that I told it first. Stress response in the body is more important than what you eat and how you exercise. If that diet, if that limitation, there's no amount of kale that you can eat to feel vital. So if that creates stress in your body, stress response, eat as much kale as you want. You're not going to build that vitality. There's going to be lacking libido, sexuality, and stuff. We have to think, because the first thing to put the body, to take out the body from the stress response and limit more diet, my diet a little bit more, tell me that I have to exercise 7 times per week, tell me that I have to limit social connections, tell me that I have to stop watching TV and all the things that I do, my body is going to be in the stress response. Forget about the healing then. So,
and knowing your own body is so important, because while she might be thinking that that's working for her, the evidence is is in how she's feeling and how she's looking. And I remember we were having a conversation like off camera where we were talking about like our menstrual cycles, and you were saying like, I actually have to go to the gym in order to really promote a healthy menstruation process. And for me, I'm the opposite, where I'm like, I need to just rest and like relax and be in like a really present state in order for my menstrual cycle to really take on a healthy form.
And even this small example, it shows how different everyone is.
Yes.
So that's why I come with that idea that, oh, people use supplements, that's a huge topic. We can also make a separate episode for that, but I don't believe in recommendations, because I think it's possible to find something that works for 8 billion people in the world. So you know that, oh, you feel lack of libido, take this supplement. I just don't want to name them, but what I see with clients that I'm seeing, supplements is a trend, because you can now everyone is taking what are they taking now? Glutathione on top. A few years ago, everyone was taking ashwagandha. Like, is a trend. You can see it on social media. Now a lot of supplements with mushrooms, so it's a trend. And if that works for you, that's great. But the thing is, everyone is different. Exactly. Your body and my body might need different things to promote the healthy cycle, like sexual energy. So if we take the same supplement, how are we gonna react? We're gonna have different results. And the thing is, result is never alive. If you see that your skin is pale, if you see it in your eyes, if you see that your lips are cracking, your skin, something's going on, is a result. And result is never alive. You can lie how you feel. But you would never lie the physical.
Absolutely. That face was priceless, by the way.
I feel that I have pretty good face expressions.
Yes. And something that I just kind of want to like backpedal on as well is, if you have experienced negative experiences with just sexual connection and libido, and really initiating that for yourself, this is a personal journey. This is a self journey, because I think a lot of the times, and it just gets really confusing, we think that we have to address this with our partners. And yes, that'll come. Us getting to know our partners sexually and connecting in a healthier way, that comes actually second. First is really exploring and digging deep as like to what is it that I like? Get to know yourself, understand what's going on within your body first before you come to your partner. Because what ends up happening is that if you haven't done enough exploration, when you go to your partner and they don't respond in the right way, they give you actually opposing feedback, meaning that the feedback is not helpful, because you're relying on that other person, you will become really dysregulated. Right. And so it's really important to understand first what's going on for you before kind of bringing that. So that's just kind of a tip.
Absolutely. Because everything starts in you. If you want to build that healthy sexual life with your partner, you have to explore, as you said, first of all, what is my body? What's going on in my body and all the levels. And of course, your past experiences, your belief system, everything has an impact. Your environment, your stress level in life, your childhood traumas, any kind of traumas, not only sexual traumas, but everything has an impact. But when you are aware, because awareness, I think, is the first step, right? The first step to trying to kind of notice, what does my body actually needs? What does my body say no to? And what does my body say yes to? Because as you said, your partner might not give you a right response, but the question is, what is the right response? Is their response. They don't have to answer the way that you want to hear. that's a kind of not a very pleasant truth, but that is true.
Mhm.
Like, they gonna respond the way that they think is right.
Yes, and being prepared for
Yeah,
that.
you have to be prepared when you're talking about sexuality and intimacy. When you let yourself be vulnerable, which is necessary
Yes.
to be able to build healthy relationships, you might hear the responses that you don't like. You might feel the way that you don't want to feel. But that's the way to build that.
Yeah. And you won't be as sensitive to the disagreement or the difference of opinion from your partner, because you'll already be confident in who you are and what you believe in. And so you're not going to be as the saying goes, like pushed over by the wind, right? Like you're not going to be sensitive in that way. But yeah, I think this is a really important topic to just continue to explore, because sex is so important to our lives, as we talked
It's
about that
vital.
vitality part. And so maybe an exercise that you start to understand for yourself is like, what does sexuality mean to me? How do I interpret that? And what has been my experience with it thus far?
And also,
Because that's it. It's just good awareness.
and also, what is libido for you? How do you know that you have attraction? How do you know that you have this libido, right? And how would you feel that it's increased or decreased?
Yeah.
What does it mean for you? Because again, everyone is different. You cannot compare your story with your friend's story, with your mom's story, with anyone's story.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time.